Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to Gunner Fan TV. Welcome back to another video. How's everybody doing today? Hopefully, you guys had a good weekend. Not so well for Arsenal fans, but we're here to talk about it, everybody. This weekend, we played Sunderland at Stadium of Light, and we came out. It feels like a defeat, but it's not. All right, let's put everything into perspective. Let's talk about this weekend. Let's talk about Arsenal's performance. And overall, how does that affect our title challenge? This weekend, we played Sunderland and we ended up with a 2-2 draw, 2-2 draw away from home. Now, if we're taking that into perspective, that's not a bad result because every team that has gone to that stadium has struggled. Away to Sunderland was going to be a tough game. And I think for us, we got carried away because we've been playing so well over the past couple of games that we're taking other teams for granted, teams that are actually performing well in the league. I feel like we're taking them, or we were just taking them for granted because the euphoria of, not conceding in over 9 or 10 games. So I think that kind of got to us a little bit as fans. Also, um, I would want to think that the players didn't lose focus, but either way, this was a tough game this weekend, and it showed. Let's start off with the lineup for me. I think the lineup for me, I didn't have much issues with the lineup because at the moment, this is what we have, right? In terms of players. And I think Mikel did put out the best available players for this game. We had to start Marino up front because we didn't have Gyökeres, right? And what a time for him to be missing. I feel like he was really missing in this game. I think he would definitely have given us better better performance in terms of how we would stretch the defense and not allow them the amount of time and space they had to organize in the back. So I feel like he was missing in that aspect for us. Um, but overall, I felt like the lineup was okay. We should have went out there and we could have won with that lineup, to be honest, right? That lineup wasn't a lineup where I was worried when I saw the team sheet and I'm like, what is he doing? We're gonna struggle with this team. No, this is a team that we could definitely we could have definitely won the game with. However, when it came down to the performance, I'm never one to really believe in a team going away, and because they're away, they're going to perform worse than if they were at home. If you could put together the same performance at home, the core of your team is strong, the way you play is strong, you're just better overall than that team. It doesn't matter where you go. If you go to their home, which is, an away game, you should still perform at that level. And I felt like we didn't perform at that level, at least in the first half. I feel like in the first half, we were just too slow coming out the gates. It was too controlled. And that's what I don't like with the tactics. That's one of my complaints with the tactics. We tend to come out too slow. It's too controlled, too methodical when we're starting games. We pick it up in the second half, or we pick it up when we've conceded a goal, which is I don't think it's the right time for you to pick up your pace. You should just come out of the blocks, all guns blazing, controlling the game, yes, but also creating chances and just dominating. I didn't feel like that was the case in the first half. It was a bit slow. In the final third, it was very slow. The passes were just not quick enough in the final third. It's like they were organized. Don't get me wrong. Sunderland was organized in the back. They weren't sitting back. Let's be fair to them. They weren't sitting back. They were pressing. They were pressing us high, but they were also tracking back together, right? The whole team was moving as a unit. They were pressing as a unit and they were recovering as a unit and they were coming back as a unit to defend. So once we got into their third, it just we kind of ran out of ideas. We just kept moving the ball left to right, and it was hard to penetrate. Um, so they were organized, and I give that to them. But I feel like our passing was too slow. We have to be quicker. We have quality players, and that's why we have quality players for that reason. When we get into the final third and things are a bit when they're playing more defensive and they're pushing us back into, into a more they're in the defensive posture, and they're pushing us, they're keeping us out from penetrating. This is why we spend the big bucks to get the players who could actually break that down. I don't think it was so much of a low block, but when they're defending, they have everybody behind the ball, if that makes sense. But they're also pressing when we were high up the field. At least from my perspective, from what I was seeing throughout the game. So I feel like that was one issue I had too. They weren't moving the ball fast enough in the final third to kind of disrupt the defense. They were too comfortable while we were attacking, if that makes sense. We weren't kind of putting them on the back foot by moving the ball quicker. But with that being said, we conceded a goal. I don't like to complain about the referee. Um, you could argue whether or not it was a foul. It wasn't a card. But he did kind of go through the player a little bit. He went through him to get the ball, did touch the ball. But regardless of that, Rice didn't make an attempt to jump. He didn't jump at all. For some reason, he was leaning on the player. You have to jump there. You have to be strong. You have to jump. And then the second attempt, he lost the second attempt again. Um, and it resulted in a goal. And it was listen, for everyone who was watching that game, they were like, "Oh my God, we conceded, we lost the record." I mean, the clean sheet is done. I wasn't concerned about a clean sheet, man. I don't know why us as Arsenal fans were getting caught up with clean sheets, bro. We need to win a title. We need to win something. We need to win silverware. Like a clean sheet record, you're not getting anything for that. Yes, you're gonna go down in some kind of history book or whatever, but that's not a title. And that's not what me as an Arsenal fan, that's not what I want to see. I want to see us winning titles. So if we concede a goal, that's nothing to me. I want us to not lose that game when I want us to win the game. All right. So it didn't worry me. I was just like, all right, let's go, guys. What are we gonna do next? Are we gonna score? All right, are we just gonna fall back? But knowing Arsenal, Arsenal doesn't fall back. All right. This is when we pick ourselves up. This is when Arsenal starts to play with a little bit more intensity after we concede, which for me, I don't like. I feel like we should start out with the intensity. And then if we need to control the game at the end, then that's what we do. However, first half was dead for us. Second half, then we came out with the intensity, right? The entire team itself, right? And I'm talking about the overall performance of the team. That's when we started to press more, to move the ball quicker. We looked more dangerous. We looked like we were definitely going to score, and we eventually we scored. Saka scored. The ball was won by Rice deep into their half. Pass into Marino and Marino into Saka. Saka scored from his right foot. Well taken goal. Continued to press Trossard. Um, I think Trossard had a good game. I think he had a very good game. He looked the most dangerous for us, if I'm going to be honest. And it was a well taken goal. That was a banger of a goal. Top bins, keeper had no chance. He created space for himself. So that was a very good goal. And I thought from there we're going to just manage the game and just see off the 3 points. Because we were slow in the attacking front. Yes, they had two or three clear. It was clear chances. I mean, not clear chances, but they could have scored. One was where Rhea made a good save. I think the striker was offside initially when that ball came in, but Rhea didn't know that. I mean, that probably would have gone to VAR or whatever, but it looked close. But Rhea made two good saves. Another two opportunities they could have scored, and Rhea made some good saves. And I think that's where Mikel kind of panicked a little bit, right? And he went to the bench and he made a defensive change where he had Mascara come in for Eze, and now they were playing with five defenders at the back. And I think that's when we just started to sit back and started to soak up the pressure. And I think it was way too early for that. I don't think at our level, the class that we have, the amount of money that we've spent, we shouldn't be sitting back and allowing teams to attack, right? In a case like that, we could have still scored another goal. Keep an attacker on the field. Bring on a one area, you know, bring on another attacking player, right? To to keep them honest, right? Bring on Max Downland. Bring on one of those guys who's actually going to give them something to think about. They'll have to leave another player up there. But when you go all defensive, you're restricting yourself to just falling back, and it cost us. It cost us in the long run, and we conceded a second goal, and we ended up getting the draw. However, it's not the end of the world, guys. I mean, let's not panic. Let's not get melodramatic. We didn't lose the game, right? We still came out with a point. This was an away game, a tough ground, a tough team, and we ended up with a point. But like we could have won the game, yes, because we actually lost the 2 points in the last couple of minutes in actually extra time. So stoppage time, as they would call it. But I still think that it's not a complete loss because we got a draw away and we didn't lose the game. If you can't win it, then you come out with a draw. But yes, we do feel disappointed because now City City's chasing us again. And as I said on this channel in previous videos, I was never worried about Liverpool. When everyone was complaining about Liverpool and saying, "Oh, we got to why we didn't beat Liverpool and that was the only game that we lost and all this and that, and we got to watch out for Liverpool." I was never worried about Liverpool, and I've said that before. The reason why I'm not worried about Liverpool is because they've made so many additions. They've made so many changes to their team, right? They've added new players. And those players, it doesn't matter if they were already in the league, they're going to need time to gel with the team. And that's just a fact. That's with every team. You may have the one odd player who comes in and just hits the ground running right away. Like a Holland. When Holland came to England, he's never he well, it could be said that yes, he was born in Leeds, right? Because his dad used to play for Leeds, and but that's irrelevant. He never played football in England, right? If that makes sense. Never kicked the ball in the league, and when he came, he was scoring mad goals, right? Ekatike seemed to he's done well, if I'm going to be honest. But those are the rare ones. Most of the guys who come to this league, they take time to settle, right? Um, Wirtz is having a horrible time fitting into the league. He hasn't done well so far in the league. He had an okay game against Real Madrid the other day, but overall, he hasn't started well. Isaac just came from Newcastle, right? He's been in the league. He was one of the top goal scorers, top strikers in the league last season. You just moving to a different team changes the whole dynamic, of how you play and how the team gels with you or how you gel with the team. Kirk has same thing, ring pong. So I wasn't worried about Liverpool. I was always worried about City because Pep is a top manager and he still has a top team, right? Yes, he has some new players in there, but he still has the core. He has his core of players still within, right? And even though he had a slow start, this is still Pep. Pep is a serial winner. He knows how to manage players and he knows how to win trophies. And now we're 4 points ahead of Manchester City. They smell blood and now they're on the hunt. So we have to be careful. This international break, I think a lot of people don't like international breaks, but I think this one came at the right time. We get our injured players back. Gyökeres comes back in. Madueke, Odegaard, even Kai Havertz. He should be back at the end of November. So during that period, we'll have most of our players back. What I'm saying, that we could have some more depth and rotation, and Mikel Arteta, he's able to now change things. Because he didn't really have much options this weekend, to be honest, to change the game, right? But overall, man, I'm not worried. I'm not panicking. We're still leading by 4 points, guys. 4 points. All right. So we can afford one more loss, but that's it. That's it. I mean, 4 points is still, 4 points ahead, right? But we just can't afford to lose any more games. Statistically, if we do lose another one, we will still be a point ahead if we continue winning after that. But that's not what you want. You want these guys to see you jump ahead. You want to maintain that lead, that gap, that buffer, So when we have the injuries in next year, right, next calendar year, when we have the injuries and players form dipping and stuff like that, you have that buffer because there's a period when things are not going to go the way you want, right? Whether because of injuries or whatever the case may be, players just not in form, or you need to have that buffer, right? You need to have that gap. And I feel like now it's a concern for me because City is chasing. As I said, I was never worried about Liverpool. City has always been my major concern. But it's no time for us to panic. We just have to continue supporting our team, be positive, be humble. This is what I'm stressing to the Arsenal community. We have to be humble as fans, man. We're just not. I don't like us going out there saying that we're the best team in the world, and we just set ourselves up because we've had so many disappointments over the years of not winning anything. And when we go out there as fans and we just start, we're just hyping up ourselves, and yeah, we have a good team, we know that, but let's just keep that within the community and just stop going out there and just talking all this smack, bro. I've seen videos of streamers talking about, yo, we're the best team in the world. We go win, we're gonna win everything. And yeah, let's just be humble. Let's win it first, man. Let's support the team. Let's win it first, right? And then we could talk. We haven't won it yet. It's that simple, man. You know what I'm saying? But overall, as I said, not gonna worry, not gonna stress. We're still leading by 4 points. Let's just look real quick into the performance of the players. Um, it's hard to start with the back four because they've been so good before this weekend, and I don't want to be too harsh, but if we're gonna be honest, this is probably obviously this is gonna be one of the worst games they've actually played in the back four. Gabriel just seemed weak, seemed off it. Saliba at times seemed like he was getting caught. Um, Timber, Timber, I think Timber did play well. Calafiori was average. You know, they're attacking Sunderland's attacking team are attacking players, especially their striker. He was strong. He was bullying our defenders. He was bullying Gabriel. Seen it all through the game. He was getting bullied, if I'm going to be honest. Gabriel just wasn't strong enough. He was leaning in too much, falling down, stuff like that. So back four didn't really have a great game, and that's why I feel like we conceded those two goals. I think one of them was merely just Rice not being strong enough, not jumping, honestly, for the header, and the other one was just Gabriel and a mixture of Gabriel and Raya coming off his line for that also. Should have just stayed on his line. But the way the ball was hanging in and coming towards him, I can't blame him for trying to or attempting to get that ball. But in hindsight, he probably should have just stayed on his line. But if you watch it again, the way the ball was kind of lobbed over, it was kind of like a header, right? Looping header, and it was played on, and he just went for it, didn't get it. It wasn't strong enough. Gabriel wasn't strong enough, and Roya wasn't decisive. He should just punched it. It doesn't matter who was there. He probably would have hurt Gabriel, because Gabriel was putting his head to it, and the attacking player was also putting his foot to it. So, but you just have to be decisive. If you're coming to get it, you punch everything. But in hindsight, he probably could have just stayed on his line. That would have been an easy recovery for him. He would have just played it right to him. But yeah, defensively we weren't good, and it showed in the scoreline. Um, our midfield was quiet. Eze again underwhelming. He's gonna need time. We have to give him time. 11 games so far. Um, he hasn't been bad, but it hasn't been great. So he's been underwhelming. But again, I have to give him time because we don't expect him to just walk into the team and just hit the ground running and adapt to a new style and new players. And remember, he's not the man um, at Arsenal the way he was at Crystal Palace, right? The team is not built around him, right? We have more possession when we play. It's not like Crystal Palace where when he gets it, he's dictating, he's attacking. When we have it, we have a system that we play. So he's gonna look different than our team, right? So I don't expect him to start shining right away. I'm gonna give him time. But again, overall, Zubimendi, he was all right. He kept the ball moving. Um, Defensively, we didn't need him in that position. Honestly, I felt like Rice should have just probably dropped back into that position and pushed Zubimendi forward for this game. Would have probably helped because it was just too rough in that midfield. So our setup, I think, needed to be tweaked between Rice and Zubimendi. Um, Rice, yeah, this wasn't one of Rice's best game. Honestly, I mean, he cost us that first goal. Didn't make up for it with the equalizer where he won the ball deep in their half and led to a goal. But overall, he wasn't good either. Um, Saka, average average game from Saka. He scored, yes, but he wasn't electric. He didn't look a big threat. You know, I watched the game again this morning, and yes, they're gonna double up on Saka because he's Saka, but I mean, you expect more from him because he's a star boy, right? You expect that when we're down, he's gonna step up, and he scored. To be fair, he scored, so he did play his part. But you know, if we're gonna be greedy and if we're gonna chase this title, or no, if we're going to go for this title, we need to see a lot more from our star boy. Um, Trossard, I think Trossard had the best game. I think for me, he would be man of the match. Scored a fantastic goal. Keeper had no chance, created it for himself. If I'm going to be honest, created the space, no backlift, he just struck right through it. Top bins, keeper had no chance. I think for me, he was the man of the match. He played very well. Um, had a few crosses in. You know, he just looked solid on that side. I would love for him to have a little bit more pace, but you know, that's just his game. He's not a quick player. You know, you get what you get. But he's starting to have some consistency. If I'm going to be honest. So until we get someone else there who's just going to be a massive headache over there, we're just going to have to continue to use Trossard because Martinelli should be coming back from injury. I think by the end of November. Um, but for now, Trossard, I think he's probably cemented down that spot. Um, Marina for me, man. I don't know, man. I don't want to be harsh because he was just brought in to do a job, and he's done that job well before. So, you know, we're gonna give him credit for that. But for this game, I feel like he was very ineffective. You know, he was kind of like a non-factor. He did give Saka that assist, but you know, you would expect him to pass that ball. It was an easy pass, you know, like a 5 yard pass to Saka. So, um, you don't get much credit for that. But over his overall performance throughout that game for me wasn't good. It felt like we were carrying him. You know, he kept falling over. I mean, I remember one time he fell over and Xhaka came over him and he was screaming in his ears, "Bro, get up!" Like, yeah, get up, man. Like he's always rolling around. If you're gonna be honest, he's always rolling around, bro. He's probably the only player apart. Sometimes I see Bakaya doing that too, but every touch Marina gets, he just falls over, bro. And he needs to be stronger. He's a big dude. He's a big lad. So I just don't understand why he keeps doing that at times. But for me, he was kind of non-existent in that game. He didn't do much. I didn't see him. He wasn't involved, and we did miss Yakares. But again, he was brought into the job. Can't be too upset. We had no real option. He was going to be that second option because he did score in the Champion League game prior to that. Um, but yeah, we go again, guys. All right, we go again. All right, 2 points drop, but we didn't lose. So you know they're still chasing us at the top of the table. All right, so international race coming up. Um, for me, I'm going to actually be looking at Jamaica's game Thursday. They stand a chance of qualifying, and with all that's going on down there in the country after the hurricane, this might be a big motivation for them. So I'm thinking it's going to be a good game. The first game is away to Trinidad, and the second game is home to Curacao. I'm hoping they get the support. It might be rough for people to come out and support, but hopefully the government could do something to kind of encourage the people to, you know, come and see that game. Maybe they make it a free game where you just show up to the stadium and, you know, the first 5,000 people, whatever. How many amount of people the stadium could hold. Could be filled to capacity or whatever. You just open the stadium up for people just coming in and watch and support Jamaica. I think that's a good idea. I think that's what the country needs right now. Um, a big boost in morale and motivation. So I will be streaming that game on Thursday, and the following one I think is next week Tuesday. Well, we wait again for Arsenal. When we come back from the international break, we are home to Tottenham Hotspur. Hopefully, we should be ready for that game. Most of our players should be back, and we go again, and we get 3 more points, guys. But hey, that's it for me. Go ahead, smash the like button, subscribe if you haven't subscribed to the channel, comment, show me the love, guys. Appreciate each and every one of you guys. Thanks for stopping by. Take care of yourself until we talk again. Peace.